In 2021, video is still queen. Whether you're looking for tips on a tight budget or curious about the latest platforms creators are using, this is the session for you. Learn from 3 in-house video practitioners from Dallas Theater Center, San Francisco's Asian Art Museum, and New Jersey's George Street Playhouse for insight on cross-departmental video strategy, segmenting your content, and more. This session is sponsored by our longtime partner, Cinnovative, who also produced that awesome intro video you saw at the beginning of the conference. There will be no Q&A for this session. Afterwards, you can choose your own adventure between 2 focus sessions, SEO for YouTube, optimizing the second biggest search engine, or the return of the stellar arts marketing video reel, also produced by Cinnovative. Let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Zaverbalis. I am a white woman with brown hair. I'm wearing brown tortoiseshell glasses and a navy sweater. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm located in San Francisco, California, which is on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone people. In my presentation today, I'm going to introduce myself and my role at the Asian Art Museum of San Francisco. I'm also going to give you an overview of the structure of our marketing team and who we collaborate with for our video needs. Then I will share our marketing funnel and describe how we use video in every stage of this funnel. And finally, I'll share some actions you can take to show the value of video within your organization. There are 2 photos featured on this slide. One features the Asian Art Museum's Museum from Home webpage, and the other is a photo of the outside of the Asian Art Museum. I think these 2 photos are fairly representative of my job as the Associate Director of Marketing and Digital Engagement, because I drive people to purchase tickets and attend our on-site programming, but I also oversee digital engagement to increase brand reach and affinity for the museum and provide people with ways to engage with the museum without being on site. Today, I'll be focusing more on the marketing piece of my role, but of course, there's overlap between marketing and digital engagement. And now I'll share more about the marketing and communications team at the Asian Art Museum. On screen is an organizational chart showing the structure of the Marketing and Communications Division at the Asian Art Museum. The Chief Marketing and Communications Officer oversees creative services, digital projects, marketing and digital engagement, which is my team, and communications and business development. On the communications team, there is a full-time creative media producer who creates multimedia to communicate organizational messaging. My team works very closely with this position and the communications team to create video to support our marketing and digital engagement goals. We're very grateful to have a dedicated media producer in our division, and having this position allows me to integrate video throughout my marketing campaigns. You're probably familiar with this, but a marketing funnel is a tool that outlines your customer's journey with you, from the initial stages when someone learns about your business to the purchasing stage and beyond. I use this marketing funnel to let me know what I need to do to influence consumers at certain stages. The funnel I'm sharing has 5 steps, and in the following slides, I'll share content ideas, video examples, and measurements of success for each step. I'll also be making suggestions for how you can repurpose existing content that you may already have. At the top of our marketing funnel and the first stage is awareness, and its purpose is to reach as many potential customers as possible. Since this is the first point of contact with customers, videos should share top-level information. They should be short in length and be visually enticing to draw people in. The metric we use to measure success in this stage is view count. We want as many people as possible to watch our awareness videos. Two videos that work well for awareness and that we regularly create are a 30-second trailer, similar to a movie trailer, and a succinct walkthrough of the experience we are offering. We call those walkthrough videos. I'm going to show you a video trailer created for one of our 2021 exhibitions called After Hope: Videos of Resistance.
Get with it. It's healthy. It's called.
So we used that 30-second trailer for organic and paid ads on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. But this size and that 30-second length can also be used on broadcast TV and streaming platforms like Hulu, which we did. But we also use this 30-second video as a mold for other elements of our awareness marketing, and we made slight tweaks as needed. For example, we resized a 15-second version and turned that into an Instagram story ad. We also cut down the video to 5 seconds and resized it and used those as animated ads on third-party websites. And I'm going to show you an example of one of those 5-second ads. So we obviously couldn't fit all of the key communications points from that 30-second video trailer into a 5-second ad. So we created 2 5-second versions and decided to A/B test them. The 5-second ad that you just watched focused on the scale of the exhibition. The key messaging point was over 60 artists. But we also created a second version of that 5-second ad, focusing on the messaging point of artists from across the globe. And I'll show you that ad right now. So creating these 2 ads allowed us to A/B test messaging points to inform future videos and marketing that we created for this campaign. So our potential customer watched an awareness video, and now they're moving to the second stage of our marketing funnel known as generate demand. The purpose of this step is to grow interest in the exhibition that I am marketing. And I do this by creating videos that share more than the awareness ads. These videos convince potential visitors that they could have a rewarding experience at the museum. And the key measurement for video that we focus on here is time spent watching, because if people are investing time in our content, then their interest is growing. In the previous stage, awareness, I suggested creating a short walkthrough video. Videos meant to generate demand can expand on that speedy walkthrough video, and it can turn into a video tour. Sometimes we integrate positive feedback from our visitors or press into our videos, and this is also helpful for generating demand because we're not tooting our own horn, but we are using external trustworthy voices to vouch for the experience that we're selling. You could also reshare user-generated content like social media posts from visitors, either individually, which doesn't require any video editing, or if you have bandwidth for video editing, you could even create a compilation of visitor content. Offering your potential visitors exclusive content is also helpful for generating demand. And I like to offer this through Facebook's lead generation ads, but I'm actually going to talk about that in a few slides. For now, I'm going to share with you a video that uses testimonials, mentioned in bullet point number 2, to generate interest in an exhibition that is currently on view at the museum. like the awareness video, this video shared top-level information about the exhibition, but it also included more. We learned more about the exhibition experience. It's immersive, digital, and interactive. We also shared numerous press testimonials to both describe and vouch for the exhibition experience. You may have noticed that at the end of the video, there was also a call to action to buy tickets, and that's okay. Even though we're trying to generate demand, some people will be ready to convert and buy tickets at this point, and we want to make sure they know what to do next. For others, we're just planting the seed to buy tickets, and we rely on this third step in the marketing funnel, which is drive conversions. Here, we want to convince people to buy. At this point, they're already familiar with the museum and what we're offering. So we want to create videos that address any final questions they may have and want answered before purchasing. Essentially, it is our chance to remove any last doubts, and the key metrics are pretty straightforward: web visits and ticket purchases. All of the videos on this slide are videos that have been made by the Asian Art Museum. We love making these videos and have found them to be very helpful in driving conversions. Again, testimonial videos work well here. FAQ videos are a very straightforward way to address those last-minute questions that someone may have before purchasing. Or you could create a tutorial video to teach people how they can have a great experience at the museum. A different approach is that you can flood people with excitement and share the highlights of the experience via video. We like making videos that share the curator's favorite pieces in an exhibition. Those videos are too long to share here, but you can search on YouTube for Asian Art Museum Curator's Top 5 to see 2 examples of those videos. We made our first tips video this year for the TeamLab exhibition. It's a digital art exhibition that is interactive. Your body and its movements influence how the digital art moves and changes. It's a high level of interaction that is not our standard exhibition experience. So we needed to create a conversion video that was different for us and did more explaining to show visitors how they could get the most out of their visit. And I want to show that video to you. So with our tips video, we've convinced people to purchase a ticket to the museum. The fourth stage in the funnel, adoption, is about making sure they have a great visit and setting them up to return to the museum. The videos we create in this stage are meant to supplement and enhance the on-site experience. They are longer in length because people have already bought into the museum and they're fully engaged, so they can have longer content. For measurement, we look at visitor satisfaction and we also look at return visits. Are we providing people with a positive enough experience and additional information to keep them learning and interested? Going live on social media is great for adoption. It can help us capture a broader audience, but it's usually our biggest fans and existing followers who are most likely to turn in. We've also created interviews with the artist or have gone behind the scenes with other figures who help bring our exhibitions to life, like curators or exhibition designers. During the past year and a half, many of us pivoted to providing some excellent online programming. You can repurpose those by recording them and sharing them in your post-visit email, social media, or on your website. And recently we did just that. Artscapes was a 20-minute long virtual tour of the TeamLab exhibition that concluded with a live Q&A session with the curator and one of the TeamLab artists. This long-form tour shared more about the process, how the art was created and installed at the museum. This type of video encourages people to return because they're now more knowledgeable about what they saw during their first visit, and they can visit again with a different perspective. But these virtual tours are time intensive to make, and we want to repurpose video as much as possible. This type of long form content is also very valuable to us. We recently had success repurposing the Artscapes virtual tour as content for step number 2 in our marketing funnel. As a reminder, step number 2 is generate demand. So in September, we started running a lead generation ad on Facebook with the goal of getting new email subscribers. The incentive for signing up for our newsletter was receiving a recording of this virtual tour. We ran the ad for 4 weeks and received over 1,600 new email subscribers. So this is an example of how the marketing funnel is a fluid structure. Sometimes content can fit into numerous places in your funnel, so don't be afraid to reuse it. In the final stage of the funnel, we want to turn happy customers into advocates. So videos should be celebratory, and we measure success through sentiment and the volume of user-generated content, or how many people are talking about our brand. The advocacy stage is where I think our video marketing strategy has the most room to improve. A video I would love to create is a personal message from the museum to send to people after they visit. I also think your awareness video in stage 1 could work well here if it is released as a sneak peek of upcoming offerings and shared via personal email to members. The easiest thing to do, which is also effective, is share videos from people who are posting about you on social media. People love having their content shared, and it's a nice thank you. And with the rise of TikTok and Instagram Reels, visitors are now empowered to make their own videos more than ever. So here's a video from TikTok that documents a visitor's recent trip to the museum, and we ask for approval to reshare this video on our own channels.
This weekend, I checked out the TeamLab Continuity exhibit at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. I highly recommend you book your tickets to this limited time exhibit. Inside, you'll find beautiful and immersive light installations. They're even interactive. Don't forget to make your own fish. And of course, you'll also get admission to the beautiful museum.
So that video was amazing, and even better, it was one less video for us to create. So if you want more video support for your organization, here are some steps that have helped us. I encourage you to build your own marketing funnel and determine how video fits into it. Maybe you use video for only 1 or 2 steps, but with your funnel, you'll know what video content you'll need to help you achieve your goals, and you'll have an impressive strategy to share with decision makers. Also, identify what video resources you already have and how you can repurpose them. Remember, we've had success using adoption videos in lead generation campaigns. It's also important to share the impact of your videos. You could write up a dedicated report summarizing the impact of video over the past year or for a particular campaign. But I also encourage you to share when your videos have success on an ongoing basis. Did a video you posted last week get thousands of views over the weekend? Determine where you can share that success with your team and with the organization, whether it's a team check-in, an all-staff meeting, or sent via email. Also, plan ahead, write a creative brief that includes video, and show what could be possible if you had more video support. Finally, do some digging to see if other departments are spending money on external videographers. In the past, our development team hired external contractors to create a video for our annual board meeting. This yearly video is now made in-house by our creative media producer, and the museum is saving money in our budget by reducing the need for external contractors. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you all for your time, and now I'm going to hand it over to Amani.
Thank you, Amanda. Hi, everyone. My name is Amani Thomas. I'm a Black woman with brown eyes and an afro. I'm wearing a lovely pink and white striped shirt for this beautiful Friday afternoon. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm located in the great Dallas, Texas. I acknowledge the land beneath my feet as the ancestral home of the Caddo, Wichita, Tawakoni, Kickapoo, Comanche, Kiowa, Apache, and those indigenous people whose names we don't know anymore. I am the digital media manager at Dallas Theater Center, a regional theater in North Texas. I've been with the company since early 2019, and I was previously the social media manager. Our seasons consist of 7 to 8 classic, contemporary, and original works that we produce at our 2 locations, the Cleta Humphreys Theater, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, and the D. and Charles Wiley Theater. This is the Cleta, and this is the Wiley. The company was founded in 1959, received a Tony in 2017, and are a local powerhouse, according to the New York Times. Having a photo featured in one of their articles is definitely my biggest claim to fame. Dallas Theater Center has a beautiful, rich story, and for the longest time struggled to tell it, at least consistently. Here's an older video from 2011. It has 3,000 views on YouTube and lots of engagement, which is great. And there are a handful of videos like this that were made throughout the years, but none that were being produced consistently. Let's watch.
Hey DTC fans, Brad here again, and I'm actually standing inside the Potter Rose Performance Hall at the D. and Charles Wiley Theater as they transform this space into the Land of Oz for our upcoming production of The Wiz.
How about I give you a demonstration?
All right, sounds good. I'm going to get out of the way.
Okay. Sarah and Max, spin that pod.
Oof, that looks like a lot of fun. It was clear that audiences were interested in this behind-the-scenes look at DTC productions, but there was just no strategy to realize or even support it. So when I started, I tried to flip that. I love storytelling. It's what I've always wanted to do since I was a child. Just tweaking the medium a little bit. I wanted to be a writer, and then a jersey designer, then a filmmaker, then an actress, then a photographer, etc. But I've always just wanted to tell stories. And that's really what we do as arts marketers. We tell the stories of our organizations and productions in the most creative ways possible. It's a lot of fun. When I was being interviewed for social media coordinator, the director of marketing said he wanted social to be revamped and engaging. And by God, there better be some memes. Dallas Theater Center produces such top-notch, innovative work. So how do you make that interesting to an audience? I immediately thought of video. We did sizzle reels or trailers and interviews with directors and artists, but how much deeper can we go? How can we engage our audiences further in these worlds we're creating? How can we use social media trends in our video strategies so my boss doesn't kill me over these memes? Be curious. There's a lot going on, especially at arts organizations, where we're all utilizing storytelling in each of our positions. I went to my first DTC show, The Wolves, and I was just in awe of everything. But I also had a lot of questions. The set is really cool. Who made it? How do you even make that? Who designed it? What training do you need for that? The acting was great. I want to know more about the actors. It's an ensemble cast. How much went into rehearsing the timing of the lines? Did they have to undergo any physical training for this show about soccer? So many questions. And if I had them, our audience definitely had them. And that's where we start. I created a video strategy that largely showcased everything happening off of the stage. There's a show happening behind the show after all. Literal behind the scenes videos production crew interviews, a day in the life series, set tours, time lapses, 360 videos, etc. Our overall content strategy always focuses on creating something that lets our audiences insert themselves into the worlds we're creating. And video is a huge part of that. And hey, we had a great response. Our engagement was soaring through the roof. In my first year, we doubled our follow count on every platform and went from an average engagement rate of 10% to 22%. It was incredible. But with this new strategy, I made sure to always highlight one thing: our staff. For some patrons, especially subscribers, when they think of your organization, they think of your staff. The box office representative, the volunteers and ushers. Our development department hosts several events for subscribers and patrons and are actually there mingling with them. Sure, everyone knows the actors and musicians, but these are also the faces of your organization. So why not show them off? Our content strategy doesn't only include productions, but our people as well. Our first 2 shows this season were in rep, so here's our box office team explaining in a fun video what that means. And here are a couple clips from our weekly web series, Mindful Mondays. I worked with the former director of education, the unforgettable Morgana Wilborn, on the series. She gave weekly advice, mantras, book reads, etc. We always had a great audience response, and what I loved about this series was that it showcased our growth as an organization, and it also gave us a direct voice to our audience. And here are some fun TikToks that feature our acting company and more box office staff. Most of our staff are more than happy to appear in our videos. We're all kind of unsung heroes. We do such fun work that we're passionate about, and I found that most of us are just waiting to talk about it with someone. Plus, we're in the age of social media, so you should shoot a video featuring a staff member, then they can use that video on social media, or as the kids say, flex on the gram. It's a win-win for sure. So with this new strategy, our audiences get a full scope of how things work here and who all is involved. The sell also includes the people. We're always trying to highlight our staff and our content. And again, this organization isn't just the shows, but the people as well. We are all DTC. And here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. So we have this great video strategy that's in full effect. How are we capturing all of this video? Our video team consists of myself and my coworker, our wonderful digital marketing manager, Ray Alva. We have 2 camcorders, 1 DSLR that was released in 2009 and has none of the helpful features of modern cameras, a couple dusty tripods, and a softbox light. I also have very shaky hands, so we had to purchase a monopod if any of the footage I shot was to be used. We also shoot a lot of video on our phones, a whole lot of video. It's 2021. We're in the digital age. Our phones are our greatest resource in a lot of ways, but especially with video. But that's it. A couple of camcorders, a DSLR, and our phones. Also, neither Ray nor myself are in this photo. We're both ironically and hilariously camera shy. Yeah, we didn't have a big team or super high-tech equipment, and our budget was microscopic. But we did the best with what we could, and that went a long way. You can still tell a story with limited means. We're actually in the process now of getting a new DSLR that's up to date. So I'm super excited, so excited for that. And our budget is being restructured to allow for more spending on digital because we're able to prove that video helps us. We're all storytellers, and there are so many ways to tell the story of your organization. Video is a big one, and it's not so scary. So be curious, tap into the people around you, and use what you have. Thank you for having me. Passing it off to you, Matthew.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Holowinka, and I'm the Director of Digital Strategy and Communications at the George Street Playhouse. I'm a white man in my late 20s with curly brown hair, round silver glasses, and a beard, and I'm wearing a gray button-down shirt and a maroon blazer, and behind me there is a blank white wall. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm coming to you from New Brunswick, New Jersey, which sits on the traditional territory of the Lenni Lenape people who cared for this land and were removed by English colonizers beginning in 1681. So I wanted to start this presentation by showing you an image of what the outside of George Street Playhouse looked like when I first started working there in 2018. So pictured here, you'll see several sheep and a grass field behind a wire fence. In 2018, George Street Playhouse was in a temporary space on the agricultural campus of Rutgers University. We were in this temporary space while our former home in downtown New Brunswick was being demolished and rebuilt into a state-of-the-art performing arts center. So the reasons I show this photo are twofold. On one hand, I want to tell you a little bit about me. So before I came to theater, my background was actually in animal rescue, so I love getting to visit the farm animals. But from a videography standpoint, that made me more of a documentarian. When I was telling a story about an animal in need of rescue, there were videos that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the other reason I wanted to show you this image was to show you where George Street Playhouse came from and where we are today. So pictured now is the outside of our current home at the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center in downtown New Brunswick. We were halfway through our inaugural season in this building in March 2020 when we had to shut down and our stages go dark because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's a very modern building made of metal and glass, and also pictured outside are two very large LED screens. And the existence of these LED screens, where we formerly did not have them at the farm, really made me think about video in a new way. When the purpose of a video screen is to capture a passerby's attention quickly as they're moving outside, I cannot necessarily tell a whole story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And as I was making this presentation, that really made me think, that's not unlike the social media feed, where somebody's scrolling by and only have a few seconds to attract their attention. So now, whether I'm making video for our LED screens or for social media, I try to keep in mind 3 tenets to create attention-grabbing video content. The first is motion. Motion, I think, is naturally more attention-grabbing in the moment than something that is static. The second is quickness. When somebody's walking by outside or scrolling on their feed and you need them to stop and look, you only have a few seconds to attract their attention and get your message across. Finally, I try to convey my messages in a visual way through text, graphics, and video content. The screens outside of our building have no sound, so I can't use things like explainer voiceovers or music to attract attention. And a social media feed might be similar if somebody's scrolling through their phone with the volume turned off, and I still need to convey something to them. So keeping these things in mind, in 2021, George Street Playhouse launched a virtual season that had 4 shows. I've chosen to highlight 3 today, which are the first 3 that we did. These 3 were also unique because they were filmed in a closed quarantine space in a private home rather than on our stage. The first one is in one-person comedy called Bad Dates, depicted here in pink font on a night sky background with a martini glass. The second is another one-person comedy, fully committed in red font on a white dinner plate. And the final one is a drama called Tiny Beautiful Things, depicted in white typography on a purple balloon. Now, for context, these shows were filmed in their entirety, so they were not live streams. And they were available to view on demand from a start date to an end date. So after you bought your ticket, you could start watching at any time as long as the show was still available. I also want to note that because these shows were filmed, that gave me access to really an entire production's worth of video content. But at the same time, the shows were being filmed remotely in closed rooms and often with only one cast member. So we could not go into a rehearsal room and shoot engaging footage like interviews like we once might have been able to. So for additional context, I do want to tell you a little bit about our virtual audience itself. Over our virtual season of 4 shows, we streamed to 2,000 total households. That's compared to the 3,000 to 5,000 individual tickets we might sell for a single in-person production. 55% of our patrons that came in virtually were new. So those are patrons who had not been to George Street Playhouse for any event in at least 5 years. And that's compared to a realm of about 30% new patrons for a typical in-person production. And finally, 33% of our virtual audience were pre-sale purchases. What I mean by that is people who bought the link to view the stream prior to the stream itself being available to watch. So for comparison's sake, by a typical in-person opening night, we would have sold 50 to 55% of our total sales goal. So what this information was telling us is that we were seeing a majority of new patrons who were less familiar with George Street and more interested in individual shows, not our mission or our reputation. And these patrons were buying later and more in the moment, not in advance. And that made attention-grabbing in-the-moment video content all the more important. That said, streaming sales were not the only goal of our virtual campaigns. We were also trying to keep our social feeds active because we had been dark for some time and didn't want patrons to think we had gone away. Likewise, we wanted to foster a sense of community, to get those new people interested in us as an organization and perhaps rejoin us one day for a live show. But furthermore, there were also challenges that did not exist in a typical year. Our marketing budget was smaller than it might typically be. Likewise, our staffing capabilities were smaller than they might typically be. So the question remained, how do you create attention-grabbing video that makes people take action with all the realities that we were currently facing? that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. It's just that. Making the assets you do have work for you. First, I'm going to talk about making still images move, to give that element of motion to images that are otherwise static. Next, I'm going to talk about using all of your resources, even ones you might not be thinking of right now. And finally, I'm going to talk about reusing, recycling, and adapting what works best for your video content. That way, you're not starting from scratch every time. So first, making still images move. I've already shown you our lovely key art for these productions, and they're beautiful on their own. They're colorful and they're bright. But like I said, can you add an element of movement to create visual video content that might make someone stop and look? So the first thing I'm going to show you is how we animated the key art for our second production, Fully Committed. So on a red background, you see Stream It March 23rd. In flies the dinner plate that says Fully Committed and the rest of the artwork. Then in flies a telephone and shakes. Malik Pancholi appears. Malik was the actor who starred in this production. You would recognize him from TV shows like 30 Rock. So first of all, it's a square. I love squares on social media because they take up more visual space than a standard rectangle. So when you're thinking of your video like an attention-grabbing signboard, it's something that you want to take as much visual real estate as you possibly can. And to make this artwork move, all we really did was use standard transitions from Adobe Premiere Pro. So if your organization already uses something like Photoshop or InDesign or similar Adobe programs, you may already have access to Adobe Premiere Pro. And all we did was use built-in elements like slides and pushes to make things move from off-screen to on-screen. It did not require complicated animation. And you can really see that in this brief video, it has some of those elements I already talked about. It has motion where there formerly wasn't any. It gets the message across quickly. The first few seconds of the video, you saw it said, Stream It March 23rd, so you know exactly what I want you to do. And finally, everything is conveyed visually. There is no sound in this video. It's done completely through graphics. So the next item I want to show you is how we made the key art move for our production of Bad Dates, which was our first production of the virtual season. So here you see a night sky with some flying hearts. In flies the martini glass in the title. A high heel shoe flies in and rotates. Then appears the creative team. Again, the transitions in here were all created using standard slides and pushes from Adobe Premiere Pro. What did require additional animation, also done in Adobe Premiere Pro, was that rotating high heel shoe that flew in and landed on the title treatment. This was done using simple rotation keyframes to make the shoe spin. And there are very many great YouTube tutorials on how to get started on something like that. It was actually my first time accomplishing an animation like that. So to create those flying hearts in the background, we use the Motion Leap app, which is an app that you could download through the App Store on your phone, and I highly recommend it. There is an annual cost involved, but it has all sorts of graphical overlays that come out of the box. Things like flying hearts, falling snow, falling bubbles, all sorts of things like that. And they can be laid over any static image or video, and it's a great way to create motion on an image that otherwise does not have any on its own. So other stats about this video that I wanted to share is that the average watch time was only 5 seconds. So that goes to show you how important it is to get your information in at the top of the video, because that's really all the time you have. This video also had 75 engagements. Now, the post that included this video was not promoted. It was an organic post, and that 75 is about half of the total engagements for our most successful and most highly engaged with promoted posts. So I would say that this video did perform very well for us. The next topic I wanted to cover was using all your resources. What do you already have in your pocket that you can use to create video content? After our first production, we had lots of audience members commenting on social media, emailing us or calling us with great thoughts and reviews, and we wanted to share those in a moving graphic video on the web. So here's how we accomplished that for Bad Dates. So at the top of that video, you saw that the high heel shoe flew in, and I was able to reuse that animation that I had already made. So on the whole, this video was very successful. It drove 81 KPVs, key page views, and that was the most for the Bad Dates social media campaign. It also drove 17 streaming purchases, which was again the most for the campaign. And it had 176% ROI, return on investment, and that was again the highest for the campaign. And that is compared to our traditional long-form trailer, which was a video that was double the length. And that trailer had an ROI of negative 61%. So for context, that happened at the beginning of the campaign, where we were still trying to promote things in a sort of more typical way, not accounting for the new buying behavior that we were seeing yet. Again, though, you saw that video had a lot of motion and visual information. Graphics were flying in, and they were done with standard graphic templates and transitions from Adobe Premiere Pro. I was also able to reuse that animated high heel shoe after creating it once for the key art video. And that's what I mean by using all of your resources. One thing can take many forms and be used over and over again. So the next thing I'm going to show you is actually a video of Malik Pancholi from Fully Committed. And you will see Malik spin out of a telephone cord, and then he'll start talking. And this was our first ever foray into TikTok at George Street Playhouse.
Hi, I'm Malik Pancholi. You might know me as Jonathan from 30 Rock or Baljeet from Phineas and Ferb. I am currently playing 40 characters in the one-person show Fully Committed with the George Street Playhouse. It is theater, but we filmed it. And it is available to stream for a limited time only, so I hope you will check it out. Good morning, reservations. Could you hold, please?
So this video drew 1,000+ TikTok views, which was pretty stellar for us for our first foray into this new social media platform, and one that does not necessarily have our typical audience on it. It also drove 94 Zoom Q&A registrations when we reused it for an email, trying to get people to sign up to chat with Malik virtually. So this video actually helped accomplish 2 of our other goals this season, which was keeping us active on social media, both old and new, and to drive community engagement. Those 94 registrations driven by this video were actually pretty stellar for us. That's a little over a third of our actual standard theater house. So even if we were having an in-person Q&A, we might not see that many attendees. So this video was a big success for that. But I wanted to highlight this video for a few other reasons in regard to using all of your resources. First, your talent or your colleagues might be resources that can help you create video content. They might be willing to shoot footage for you when you can't because you're far away or you can't get into the room to do so. And it can be perfectly effective to make video that is simple on a cell phone, not necessarily shot on a pro camera. And we were able to use a version of that video on TikTok, but also via email and on Facebook and Instagram. So that shows you how you can use the same piece of content in multiple ways as a resource you already have. And to expand on that, I want to talk about reusing, recycling, and adapting what works best. So I've already talked about this a little bit, namely that animation of the high heel shoe. I used it once and I could reuse it again. But I also want to draw attention to that first shot of the TikTok video of Malik spinning out of the telephone cord. Because let me tell you, we used that shot in every possible way we could use it this season. So first of all, we used it as an animated GIF, and it worked great because it has a beginning and an end. Malik enters and exits the frame, and this GIF on social media had our highest video watch time of the entire season. It's short, so you can see exactly what's happening, and it makes you stop and look because there's motion. And it accurately conveys the comedic tone of the play as a whole, which is a big plus. But in regard to what I'm talking about now, about reusing what works best, we took what we learned from that first audience testimonial video for Bad Dates and thought about how we could do something similar once critic reviews started coming in. To take something that's already static, like critic write-ups, and give them motion. So I wanted you to watch that video now.
Good morning, reservations. Could you hold, please?
So some things I wanted to point out about that video is one, that we used that clip of Malik spinning out of the cord again because we knew it works. The other thing I wanted to point out is that again, we reused the final clip from the TikTok video of him on the telephone. So the video itself, it was very short. It had all those graphical elements like motion and visual messaging, and it was created again using standard Adobe Premiere Pro built-ins. It was one of our most successful videos of the season. It drove 337 key page views, 22 streaming purchases, and it had a return on investment of 88%. So now that spinning red cord video that I keep drawing your attention to did come from a traditional long-form trailer. And speaking of reusing your clips, these sorts of short, snappy videos repurposed from that longer trailer proved again to be more successful at driving actual sales. Now, when I talk about recycling material you already have, I do want to show you that you can also recycle video styles that you already know work. We already did it once. We used those audience reviews to make a video, and then we used critic reviews to make a video. And we did it again using a completely different tone for Tiny Beautiful Things, which was the season's serious drama. You can see from that video that you can recycle video styles that you know work for you. You don't have to go back to the drawing board every time to start over. You saw that this video, compared to the fully committed ones, it was slower. It had a completely different tone, but this video style that we knew worked was also successful. So you don't have to go back to the drawing board every time to start over. You can adapt your video arsenal to work in new ways in different tones, and that's a big help when you may be working against time or staffing or budget. So my top takeaways to share with you is that video can make people stop and pay attention. You could think about them, even though they are still narrative devices, almost like signboards, things that make you stop and look and engage. Next, video can have many goals: sales, engagement, timeline presence. And just because maybe a video is not driving a ton of ticket sales, it doesn't mean it's not working for you in other ways. Third, images you may already have can become videos with a little practice and a little patience, using standard material that comes with great programs like Adobe Premiere Pro and the Motion Leap app. And you do have assets already, whether they're from your patrons, from your video library you've already created, or from other people, such as your talent, who might be able to shoot something quick on their phones. And that brings me to number 5, which is that simply shot video can go a very long way. Not everything needs to be professionally filmed. Phones can be dynamic and engaging, and one clip can take many forms. You can adapt video for different platforms. You can reuse elements you've already created. And you can even reuse video styles you already know work for you and your audiences. And finally, for that reason, you don't have to start from scratch every time. Once you get some things in your chest of tools, you'll be able to use them multiple times to create content that's dynamic, content that's engaging, and content that's new, even though it actually isn't new. So I want to thank you all very much for your time today. I was very happy to share this case study with you.